looks a lot like Lil Baby, and his dreadlocks also look a lot like how Lil Baby started his dreadlocks, and we're going to talk about that in today's video. Before we get into it, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you guys are new and you enjoy dreadlock content. If you plan on getting dreadlocks, comment down below what dreadlocks you want to get. And what I mean by that is, how do you plan on getting them? Do you want to start with twisting with gel? Do you want to start with sponge rub? You want to do instant locks, braid locks, 2-strand twist and turn those into locks? Comment down below how you want to start your dreadlocks, and if you already have dreadlocks, comment down below how you started yours so others can see. But like I said, in this first photo, we can honestly say that he resembles Lil Baby, especially his dreadlocks. And the reason I say that is because they both started out with a very kind of loose style of getting dreadlocks, and let me explain what I mean by that. There's actually a method called semi-freeform, which isn't 100% freeform, but we do label it semi-freeform because they start out with some kind of freeform style. And what I mean by that is that they're allowing it to lock up on its own, but with a little tweak. They actually do some sort of method to create some sort of separation. It's very obvious that he does have dreadlocks. Of course, they are in the beginning stages and they're not completely locked up in this photo, but at the same time, they resemble how J. Cole's dreadlocks looked in the beginning stages of his as well, and he's completely freeform. So what's the difference? Semi-freeform is one of two things. You either start out with a method and allow it to freeform afterward, or you start out freeforming and then you start implementing methods later on. For instance, we've seen Sway Lee start out with freeform dreadlocks and then turn them into maintained dreadlocks. And let's take Lil Wayne for instance. He started out with some sort of freeform dreadlocks, went into really maintained dreadlocks doing twisting with gel, and then went back into doing the freeform dreadlocks. Both of those are semi-freeform. One just started with freeform and then ended up with maintained dreadlocks. One started out with freeform, went to maintained, and went back to freeform. And then obviously there is a third way of doing it. It is actually just starting out with a maintained method and then going into freeform afterward, which is kind of what Lil Wayne did, although he did start out with some sort of freeform. But like we see with Gunna here, he has a very loose style of dreadlocks. There are different sizes. We see that some on the top of his head are a little bit thicker than some on the back, which is totally normal. Even if you think about having thicker hair on the back of the head and having less hair on the top and closer to the hairline, that's to be expected that your hair is going to want to make thicker dreadlocks in the front versus in the back, because with less hair, you're going to want a bigger section. And with more hair, you can create smaller sections. That's why we see people that have a very tight curl pattern with a lot of dreadlocks, like we see with Gunna here. Which actually leads me on to the topic of today's video. How did he get skinny dreadlocks, and how can you get skinny dreadlocks? Let's take a look at his hair type first. So being able to look at his dreadlocks, we can tell that his hair type is about a 4B. Now I mentioned this in almost every single one of my videos on people I do with the 4 range hair type, is that I do a lot of videos on people with this hair type because not only do you guys request it, but it is more suitable for someone with the 4 range hair type in order to get dreadlocks, because it's such a tight curl pattern, which therefore makes it easier to actually get dreadlocks. Now that doesn't mean that if you have straight hair you can't get dreadlocks, or you can't even get dreadlocks like some of these people that I show on these videos, but I can say that it is a little bit harder just because your hair is straight and doesn't want to naturally lock up. Now obviously everybody's hair will naturally lock up over time. I mean, we've seen it with the Vikings. I mean, we've pretty much seen it with everybody along all cultures. So everybody's hair naturally wants to lock up. Now, based on whether you think it looks good or it doesn't look good, really doesn't matter. Everybody's hair will lock up, can lock up, and will naturally want to. The difference is that straight hair takes a lot longer to naturally lock up than hair that is a very tight curl pattern. That's why I say it's more suitable for the 4 range hair type. But besides his hair type, he has a really cool hairstyle right here. This is like a barrel roll, and it looks like he probably has it about 4 or 5 barrel rolls. It's almost like a braid, but it is with dreadlocks. And essentially you just take a dreadlock and then you just keep working your way down, tying it all together. And I actually do have a tutorial on this channel of doing this hairstyle, and it resembles the XXXTentacion hairstyle. So if you guys want to see that, it's on the channel. But one thing I really appreciate about Gunna is that he does multiple hairstyles, which actually ties into the title of the video as well, of how he gets his skinny dreadlocks. He does a bunch of hairstyles, which then compresses the actual dreadlock itself, allowing it to get tighter and tighter every single time he does a hairstyle. So we've seen him do the barrel rolls in the first one, and then now we see him doing the box braids, which is a very popular hairstyle with dreadlocks. It's a way of maintenance as well, because if you do twisting with gel and then you follow it up with box braids, or even if you do cornrows, or even if you do the hairstyle that we've seen previously with the barrel rolls or the basket weave, whatever you want to call it, that helps maintain your roots. Not only that, if you do braiding, it maintains it all the way down to the tip. I did a video on my main channel recently to where I did braids on my starter locks, and it helps maintain the dreadlock because not only is it holding the retwist in place, but it's compressing the rest of the length of the dreadlock. So if you want to watch that video, make sure to go to my main channel down to the gray. But just to recap really quickly, he has skinny dreadlocks. Not only does he have a very tight curl pattern, which allows skinnier dreadlocks. So if I can paint this picture for you, the curl pattern is tighter. That means you can use less hair to create a dreadlock, or a smaller section rather. And as the curl gets wider and wider, all the way down to straight hair, then it takes a little bit more of a section. Now obviously you can make skinny sections with straight hair. It's just a little bit more tough because the hair doesn't want to stay together. So it's just easier to use a thicker section. Another thing that he does, like I said, he does hairstyles, and this really helps compress the dreadlocks during the maintaining process. One thing I always tell people is find a maintenance method that looks good. Like we see with Gunna right here. He does maintenance methods to where he'll do twisting with gel, and then he'll do box braids or a barrel roll or basket weave. And I believe I've seen him do 2-strand twists before as well, but that's what really keeps his dreadlocks maintained and looking really good. This next photo, we're actually able to see his hair outside of a hairstyle. And I actually really like the hair color as well, because it's like a light brown. Obviously that's not his natural hair color, but it's actually something to appreciate because he didn't bleach his hair all the way out. It looks really good. Although he does have his hair bleached, it's not bleached as bright as a lot of other people do theirs. And if you want to accomplish this hair color, all you have to do is bleach it for a shorter amount of time. I would say for about 1/3 of the time that a box recommends. And it gives you that light brown color that is really cool. One thing I think is really cool is although all of his dreadlocks are different sizes, you're able to see in the length of his dreadlock the different stages he went through. If you look at the tip and a little bit of the length of the dreadlock, you're able to see that it's a little bit more thick. And if I could put it this way, quote unquote, scarred. And that's because him starting out with a semi-freeform method. And you see that the roots are well maintained. And that's just like what I said earlier, starting out with a freeform style and then going into doing maintenance later on will cause your hair to look like that. But I like how compact his dreadlocks are. And like I said, that comes from doing the hairstyles. And the last photo we're looking at here, we're able to see how skinny his dreadlocks look. Not only that, but how much his dreadlocks have progressed. And not only that, but we're able to see what he's actually doing now. Looking at the roots of his dreadlocks, we're able to see that he's doing interlocking. And to add on top of that, he's actually bleaching his hair even more, so it's a little bit more brighter. From the outside looking in, it's tough seeing that because I feel like his dreadlocks looked really, in my opinion, a little bit better when they weren't bleached as deep, when it was just a light brown. But now we're seeing him get into more of a brighter color. Not only that, it strips the hair of its pigment and its natural oils. And to top it off, he's doing interlocking, which isn't the best maintenance method. But at the same time, his dreadlocks still look really good. If you guys agree, make sure to comment down below. And also, please comment down below